Thanks for joining. I'm Eric Cohen. I'm the co-founder of National Sleep Therapy, and I host this CPAP group that hopefully is useful to everyone. Thanks so much for joining in. We do this first Wednesday of every month at 7 o'clock. You probably learned about it either through Facebook or an email that was sent out, and I'm just curious, did anyone see this on Facebook, or was it all from an email from National Sleep Therapy? How did people hear about it?
Facebook. Email.
Anyone else from Facebook? So we got one Facebooker out there. Well, that's terrific. And I'll just remind you that we are recording the call. What we do is we'll record the call, and in a few days or a week or so, we will post it online, probably through our Facebook page and our National Sleep Therapy website. So if you didn't feel like writing things down or you want to hear something again, you can listen to the audio portion. We also will take some notes and push the notes out to people in case they needed some links to certain things that they're interested in. So also on the call are two of National Sleep Therapy's really great respiratory therapists, Liz St. John and Jody O'Farrell, whom many of you might have already spoken with if you're customers of National Sleep Therapy. And our goal for these calls is to give everyone a chance to stay up to date on CPAP products and trends and really general health issues related to CPAP. And probably more importantly, hear from other CPAP users solutions and things that they've come up with, because sometimes people come up with their own solutions, and it's good to share them. Today's format is a little bit different. We're going to review our top 10 CPAP tips that we've collected over many years and thousands of patients and input that we've heard, and we hope they're useful for you. Also tonight we're going to ask for input on a particular CPAP user's quest to get comfortable with her machine. I believe they may be on the phone, and I'm not going to use names. If we can see if we can help her out, I think that would be great. Many of you already posted some thoughts on our Facebook page, so thank you for doing that. Going forward, each month, each Wednesday, the first Wednesday of every month, usually we have a different speaker. Last month we had a doctor from Rutland Regional Medical Center, Dr. Collins. And was anyone on that call that's on the call now?
Yes, one gentleman here.
Yeah. I loved her, and I thought she was fantastic. I hope you guys did too.
Yes.
Yep, very good.
Yeah, she was good. Next month, I believe, we have another sleep doctor from another prestigious hospital sleep program. That's on July 2nd, I believe, is the first Wednesday. So if you're around that week, I think that would be a good one to listen to. So, we get a lot of questions people write in. You can post them on Facebook. You can, if you're, a National Sleep Therapy customer, you can always call our great clinical staff if you have questions. But, we're here to try to get information out to everyone so they can do the best job they can with CPAP. So with that, I'm going to launch right into getting to some of the top tips. And if you saw in the email, there was a little picture of David Letterman holding the top 10 tips. So I can't promise that we're going to be as funny as David Letterman, but I think we'll have some good information nonetheless. If you just joined us, thanks for calling CPAP Talk Live. We're going to go through the top 10 tips that we've collected over the years. We are recording the call, so if you want to stay anonymous, just use your first name. That'd be great. Okay, so we're going to start with the top, which is best tip number 10. Is everyone ready to go through this?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So the first tip, and for some maybe the most important, which is back off the tequila and chips before bed. And I actually learned this tip from one of our doctors who uses CPAP. I didn't realize this until he pointed out. But if you have sleep apnea, it's kind of a little-known fact that alcohol and carbs before bed can increase the presence of your apneas. Did anyone else know that?
No. I didn't know about the carbs. I know about the alcohol, but not the carbs.
Yeah, so there are two totally different reasons. And just to add on to that, and it's sort of related, as we learned last month from Dr. Collins, is some medications also, like muscle relaxants, can also increase your apneas at night. And Jody's on the phone and Liz is on the phone. Those are respiratory therapists, and they'll make sure I don't say something dumb. I think both the alcohol and, of course, the muscle relaxants can relax the muscles in your airway to keep your airway open. And at night, it can, as you know, if you're obstructive sleep apnea, your your airway closes at night and CPAP keeps it open. But if you've maybe had too much to drink or are on muscle relaxants, it can really sort of increase the level of your airway closing, and the pressure of the CPAP might not do as good a job keeping it open. And in fact, with this one doctor, I looked at a whole number of patients, and we noticed that on Friday and Saturday nights, their AHI was often higher than it was during the week. Kind of interesting, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the first tip. Don't drink in CPAP, okay? So just know that if you're maybe not sleeping well with CPAP one night, if you've had too much to drink, it may have been the alcohol. Anyone have a question or a comment? Okay, so I'd like to take a little break and see if we can get everyone's feedback and help on this one particular person's dilemma. We have a new group participant. She wrote in that she was having trouble getting used to her CPAP. And in particular, she finds that she needs to stay in one position all night so her mask doesn't shift around. And in trying to lay so still, it's hard to get a good night's sleep when you're afraid to move. And I'm going to read a little bit of what she wrote in, and then I hope people might have a little bit of feedback and see if we can help her. She says, I try, but I can't get used to the CPAP. I stay up late in dread of using the machine when that hose swivels out of control, making those loud noises in my pillow. On my pillow, the air discharging out. I try to position myself on the edge of my pillow so the outgoing air goes into space and doesn't make noise. It's difficult to arrange the CPAP. It's like you have to freeze yourself into position for the night. I put the hose over my head and found that works best. Sometimes I lie there for an hour or more with trying to position everything or lying very still, afraid to move. I've had to resort to not using the machine since I practically get no sleep when I try to use it, and I'm very tired the next day. My doctor says I have to use it for 4 to 6 hours, 4 to 6 months to notice any difference. So that's just an excerpt of what she wrote in. And for me, it sounds like one of the biggest issues is just from moving around, the mask moves around and comes off of her face, and the air leaks out and wakes her up, and she just can't. Does anyone else ever have that where they felt like they had to just sleep in one position, and you can't sleep like that?
Yeah. I've had that for years.
Yeah?
It's a constant problem.
And have you solved it yet?
Nope.
I'll tell you what I do. And it works for me. I have the nose pillows, so they would shift, and I could hear the air leaking. And when I would put my finger on where the nose pillow was and my nostril, it would stop. I wouldn't hear that sound. So I took a long piece of cloth, very thin cloth, and I placed it between the nose, the two nostrils, the plastics, and that thickness, whatever it did, it's not even very thick. I doubled it because it's really thin, and I put that there, and it doesn't shift, and it covers the seal right on the top of my nose by the bridge where it would come out. And it doesn't work all the time. Most of the time, it works 95% of the time. Sometimes I have to fool with it, but that has been working for me. And also, I was getting a rash from the plastic nose pillows. That's what made me do it, because I had to get the plastic away from my face.
So do you think that helped you get a better seal because were you spreading the pillows apart so they were tighter in your nose? What was happening that helped you, do you think?
I think that there was too much space, because, and when it was starting to irritate my nose, obviously it was moving and rubbing. So I'm thinking, well, what am I going to do? And because I don't want to not have I don't want to not use the CPAP because I know it helps me. So the only thing I could think of is just taking a very, clean cloth, thin piece of cloth, doubling it up till I thought it was a comfortable thickness, and then I placed it in between, and whatever it did, it gave it some dimension, kept the plastic from rubbing my nose, and it also at the same time made the seal better. And I don't know why that is, but it did. But I know it has worked for me. And I know everybody has to find their own way, but when I get on the Internet, I read everybody says that air leak is a problem and all that. I mean, it's a real big problem. And I said, nobody has a solution to this. I got to figure this out. I don't think I would have figured it out if I didn't get a rash, if I didn't get a sore in my nose. I said, that I can't have that. And when I put the cloth in, it doesn't, I don't know, I don't put the cloth in my nose. I put it between the two plastic nozzles, whatever you want to call them, in the nose hole, right in the dead center.
And then I
just put it on my nose. And the cloth, because it's folded, one end I have it go a little to the left, and the other end I have go to the right, and it just kind of seals it, and I don't hear that noise, that air leaking, and I'm like, and I don't have to hold it anymore, and I don't move a lot. I'm not a big mover, but I do tend to stay in one area but I'm not frozen. I tend not to want to move around because it has a tendency to want to leak then. I mean, you can. So I can understand having to stay in one place. That, I can do that and it's all right. But it's obvious some people are not comfortable doing that. But that is what's helped me.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. And I'll just let people know that masks are such an issue and so personal that I'm a big advocate of trying things, trying a new mask, trying a piece of cloth in between. Some people put a Band-Aid over their nose if they're getting a rash. It's not a perfect science, and there are times when you just have to come up with your own solutions. Does anyone else have any thoughts or feedback for this one caller who, feels like they can't move at night or their mask is going to come off and leak too much?
I found for me I had to go to a larger pillow, the larger nasal pillows, the one that actually fit caused a lot of leakage. I went to the next size larger, and the leakage went to a minimum.
Thank you for that. Is someone else going to, I don't know if there's background noise or is someone trying to give another...
I say I have a full face mask, and what I had to do was tighten it. So when I get up in the morning, I have all these marks on my face.
It sounds like this person who wrote in, it might be useful to see a therapist and have a mask fitting while they're laying down in bed, maybe even try it with a pillow. There are also CPAP pillows that are cut out that won't interfere with your mask. And I think whoever mentioned that maybe even trying a larger pillow, nasal pillow size might be important. But I think a good mask fitting where the clinician takes their time and really tries a bunch of different things, you might just find a mask and a size that will let you move around a little bit and not feel like you're frozen still. And Jody and Liz, I don't know if you have anything to add there.
This is Jody. I couldn't agree more. If this patient has access to a clinician or would like to talk to us on the phone about a proper fitting mask, that really can make all the difference in the world.
Eric, this is Paul from Alexandria, Virginia. I think it makes a difference, and she doesn't say whether she's using just a nose mask or a full mask. I started with you 3 years ago and just with a nose mask, and I had the same problem. I found it came off in my sleep, and the head straps really weren't secure. And I went back and went to a full face mask because I'm a side sleeper, and not just one side. I move around a lot. And since I've had the full face mask, I've really eliminated most of those problems, certainly the problem of the mask coming off.
That's
Are we just allowed to jump in?
Yes, you have the floor.
Banu Kamlosi from Yarmouth, Maine, and Shebig Island, Maine. I've been using the nasal mask that the client sounds like the same one, and I find after and I wanted to know what number they were on. That they may be getting too much air, but what I have done, and it works for me, and I do get a good night's sleep, was to put my head back. I've got the whole mask on, and it's in place. I do that sitting up, sometimes even looking in a mirror. Then I put my head down, and I turn to left, and I loosen it just a littlest bit, and then I turn to right, and I loosen it just a little bit, and jiggle around the nasal mask and be sure that it's in place. Sometimes I put a slight pressure on my nose to get that just where I want it, where it's comfortable, and that's it. And I have a lovely And I know I've turned because when I wake up, I may be in a different, but it stays just right there with no problem. Most enjoyable.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
So if there aren't more, I'd like to move on to tips, but I guess I want to close with maybe just a rally of support for this person who's struggling with the mask and the CPAP is I bet everyone has gone through some series of issues for weeks, if not months, and it sounds like, there's someone for years who is still struggling with it, but I want to sort of encourage her to keep trying and certainly reach out to her clinician or doctor or National Sleep Therapy and see if she can get some support and stay with it because, it's a life-changing therapy and it's a shame that a mask would prevent that. So if we could all encourage her to do that, that would be great. Okay, so let's get back to our list of best tips. Anyone else have anything to say or are we good to keep going? These are common issues and we're going to talk more about them, so you'll still have a chance to jump in. So now we're going to go on to our best tip. We're going to work our way down. And if we run out of time, we'll try to figure something out. We'll run into the next meeting, but let's see if we can get through this. Best tip number 9 is don't sleep with a clothespin on your nose. So I know these are extremely useful tips. But, of course no one would do this, but I know there are times when it feels like we have a clothespin on our nose and you can't breathe very well, right? Has anyone ever had that? Their nose is stuffed up and it's hard to use a CPAP?
Never.
No.
Yes.
Never.
Yes.
Okay, never and yes. So that's 1 out of 2. So that's about right. About half of all CPAP users have trouble with stuffiness or congestion, which is usually due to the nasal reaction to all the air going in and out of your nose, which is higher than you would normally have. So, some people get itchy, runny noses, and some people even get nose dryness and nosebleeds. Has anyone ever gotten a dry nose from CPAP?
No.
Yes. I ended up having to use nasal gel to alleviate it.
Yep. So
I have the opposite problem.
It's runny.
Too much moisture.
Yeah.
Fills the pillows up, and sometimes it wakes me up all the time.
Yeah, interesting.
I'd
Let's
like to
hold
know
that
what
thought.
everybody's number is. Mine is 4. That's as high as I go, and and it's wonderful.
On the humidifier, I use a 4. Yeah. My sense is everyone has a different number, and that's really the first. Yeah, that's really the first thing is to make sure your humidifier is working because it adds moisture to the air that you're breathing and can reduce the irritation of the inside of your nose. And what some people do is they use a saline nasal spray or a gel, as one caller just mentioned. Some of the brands that people have used and mentioned, one is called Ocean, and the other is Air, A-Y-R. In fact, I just bought some Air spray yesterday just to try it and learn more about it. Some people report good luck with nasal rinses, like Sinurinse or using a neti pot. People are familiar with those?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, but I've never used one. But and I will pick my mask up gently by the nose, as I said before, and reseat it if I feel there's any air escaping or it's uncomfortable in just the slightest way. I'm perhaps I'm oversensitive, and then hold it gently just a few seconds, and it goes right back to where it should go, and it's very comfortable.
So can we hold that thought? And I want Jody and Liz to jump in just a minute because I think that's a really perceptive and important part of good mask fit and putting on your mask at night. I think that's an important part of the technique that a lot of people don't know about. So I'm going to write that down to make sure we talk about that. So thank you for sharing that. So back to the dry nose. If some of the over-the-counter things aren't helping, talk to your doctor because there are some nasal sprays and oral antihistamines and other things like Sudafed that might work. So don't give up. And who's ever had a cold when they're on CPAP and they don't know what to do? We get this question a lot. Has anyone ever had a cold on CPAP and not known what to do?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. because we get this call a lot, and it's really, it's kind of at your discretion. It can be pretty hard when you have a cold. Some people recommend decongestants, so you're not as stuffy. But there are some times when the cold is so bad, you just need to take a break from CPAP, and sometimes that's the only option. For some people who use a nasal mask or nasal pillow, if their nose gets stuffy, they actually buy an extra mask, and they buy a full face mask. And the reason they do that is because with the full face mask, you can breathe in and out of your mouth. So a lot of people have two different types of masks, and they have a backup full face mask when their nose is stuffy, whether it's from allergies like this week and last week when I didn't even realize I had allergies and I can barely breathe this week. They get full face masks for those, a few weeks a year when they might have a cold or allergies and they can breathe through their mouth. Does anyone here do that?
No.
No. Jody and Liz, you've probably heard a number of people that you've worked with do that, right? And it works for them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We encourage people to think about switching from their nasal mask or nasal pillow mask into a full face mask during times of a cold with congestion, in addition to using those products you mentioned to help relieve the symptoms. That seems to help. A lot of people will breathe through their mouth just naturally when they're congested nasally.
Right, which is, thank you for that, Jody, which leads us right into best tip number 8, which is keep your mouth shut.
I beg your pardon.
You heard it. Keep your mouth shut.
I always do. But I had polyps that I really didn't know about, and I had already started with a CPAP, and I can close my mouth now. And it's great.
Right, and go ahead.
I had to check with the what is it? What we used to call them ear, eye, nose, and throat doctors, but they're otolaryngologists. I had to. That's what he said to call him. I said, all right, and he discovered a ganglia of polyps down through the nasal passage, and I haven't had. It's been so much easier to breathe, and then with the CPAP at night, it's great.
Well, that's really good to hear, and the reason we're saying keep your mouth shut is because a number of people tell us that their mouth gets dry. Of course, what's happening.
I remember that happening.
Yep, right. So if you're, for example, using a nasal mask and your mouth opens, a lot of the CPAP pressure is going to come out of your mouth and dry it out. So what a lot of people do is they use a chin strap to keep their mouth closed. Now, a chin strap doesn't really lock your mouth closed. It just sort of puts a little bit of pressure on it to sort of trick your mind into thinking that it should keep your mouth shut. And eventually your body just takes over and does it automatically. Does anyone on the phone use a chin strap successfully?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you are getting... Go ahead.
Yeah, I use one, but I'm kind of new and having a tough time with getting adjusted to the CPAP, and I don't know that I'm so successful in using it, but I'm trying to use it. But my mouth still opens, but the respiratory therapist that I saw when I got the machine said to just keep trying, and that it didn't matter if my mouth opened sometimes, that just to keep trying to use the chin strap with the nasal pillows. And that's what I do, but but my mouth still opens, so. Yeah.
If Jody and Liz want to pipe in, it probably takes some time for it to become more automatic, but a number of patients who use a nasal mask who had their mouth coming open more often than not have successfully used a chin strap. But certainly if it's not working after some period of time, and Jody or Liz can give a time frame, a few months perhaps, then maybe it's time to look at something else. But I think it's important to give your body some time to adapt to something new.
Mm-hmm.
And if your mouth is dry, if people's mouths are getting dry, there are some products on the market over the counter.
Oh, good gargles. Yes, one in particular. Just going to take a trip to the other room to get the name of that. It's every once in a while, the throat does get dry.
Yeah, some people have told us about Biotine.
That's it.
Yeah,
good for you.
Yeah, Biotine.
Yes.
So there's
very pleasant.
I like the taste too. And there's two types. One is sort of a one you can swish around and gargle with. There's another one. There's a gel that our therapist Liz St. John told us about, where it's a gel. And Liz, I think you put it on the roof of your mouth or something.
Yes, that's right. Right on a little dab on the roof of your mouth, and it slowly dissolves throughout the night.
Oh, my. No, I like the gargles.
Yeah, and
of course you wake up with a dry mouth, but that doesn't happen to me very often.
Yeah,
I do
so
like
that's something if you get dry mouth. There's chin straps, and and of course if you need to go to a full face mask. You know that when you're prescribed a mask, if after some time it just isn't working for you, your nose is too sore, your throat is dry, your skin is irritated, don't suffer through it. Reach out and try to get some help. Look online, call the clinician with whom you're working, and try to get some help. Don't live with it because there are some other options. So, this is the next mask tip, which is keep your mask on. If you want CPAP to work well, keep your mask on.
Oh,
and we've all been talking about this, right? You can't sleep if your mask doesn't stay on right. And although there's some air that's going to come out of your mask, we don't want a lot of air blowing up into our eyes and drying out our eyes. We don't want the mask coming off and the seal sort of being disrupted. It can wake you up. It can wake up your bed partner. And so one of the interesting things is when you put on your mask, one of the callers gave a really nice explanation of how she does it. She puts it on, and then she sort of pulls it away a little bit. And I bet she's doing that with the air, maybe with the air pressure of the CPAP on.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
I do.
So,
yeah.
Yeah,
I just put my head back, turn it to the left, and adjust that strap. Because I don't like to wake up and see the pressure lines at all. And then since I've worked this out, and then I do it to the right, and then I do my little wiggle of the nose. And that works for me.
That's great, and actually leads us into our best tip number 6, which is loosen up a bit. And that relates to mask. And we find that most people over-tighten their mask. And just as you're doing, the proper way to fit a mask and put on a mask is to do exactly what you're doing. You actually want the air pressure to have the ability to expand and sort of inflate those cushions of the mask. That's going to hold your mask in place all the way around the seal better than strapping it down super duper tight. So I would suggest that everyone sort of tries that. You put the pressure on, you actually pull the mask slightly away, you keep it a little bit looser than normal, and you sort of let the air pressure inflate the mask. And Liz and Jody, our 2 respiratory therapists, have done this hundreds or thousands of times, and I don't know if you have a better way of describing that, but it's important that we don't over-tighten the mask because, as you perfectly say, you get marks on your face, and you can actually impact the sealing.
I'd just like to add that the way I describe it is when you over-tighten, the cushion flattens out, and then it's less forgiving. It's not able to inflate, so to speak, with the air pressure and seal in any of the openings that are caused by changes in your facial features as you shift in position. And it just allows for shifting of position a little bit more. It's just more forgiving. If you flatten it out, then it isn't able, it's called a cushion for a reason. It's supposed to stay puffy and inflated. And if you over-tighten, you diminish that. It goes from a life raft to a surfboard.
That's good. The other thing that helps your mask seal is to keep your face clean. We have a number of people that actually I spoke with a gentleman today where I haven't solved this puzzle yet, but he wears a full face mask and his skin breaks out in acne from the full face mask, but not where the mask is touching his skin. It breaks out on his neck down to his Adam's apple.
Oh, my.
So I'll leave that one for you to ponder. If you think you have an idea or a solution, feel free to drop us a note on Facebook or an email or something. It's a little bit of a mystery, but we're working with them, and we'll see if we can, just through process of elimination, try some things and help them out.
Yeah.
We get a number of folks who are sensitive to the materials in the mask or just having the mask on their face, and whether it's the bacteria that lives on your skin or the oils or what have you, it can give you a rash. It can make you break out. I just wanted to make sure everyone knows about REM-Z liners and things like that, which is a sort of a fabric liner that goes between your mask and your face that can help people who are super sensitive to having that silicone mask on their face. Is everyone aware of REM-Z liners?
No, never even heard about them.
So at one point they were covered by insurance, and they are no longer. But for some people who have sensitive skin or they sort of break out easily, putting some, I'll say, inert, and silicone should be inert, but some people don't react well to, sort of a rubbery material on their face.
Yeah.
These REM-Z liners are just a godsend for a lot of people. So I just wanted to make everyone aware of those. I think you can buy them in quantities. I know you can buy them in a monthly quantity. They give you 30, and then you use them once a day. And I've heard of some people washing and ironing them. So there are things out there. If you are getting rashes or breaking out, there are liners out there that can help.
Sir, do we order that from you, or is this something we're supposed to look for in a pharmacy, or?
You can call National Sleep Therapy. Absolutely, we carry them and sell them. So.
Well, I just found out about the pillows, and I ordered some of those and other things, but I didn't know about this.
Yeah, the REM-Z liners. Are you a current patient with National Sleep Therapy?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, great.
But it's just hard. I move. I won't be for all the summer. From different places. From Texas, I couldn't get a hold of you at all. But it's REM-Z, R-A-M?
That's REM-Z, R-E-M, REM like REM sleep, and then a Z, REM-Z. If you call us or email us at supplies@nanotherapy.com,
I know how to do that.
Yeah, and talk about REM-Z, they'll help you out.
All right, that's good.
The other product that I want to make people aware of that they may not be, there are a lot of users with full face masks where the bridge of their nose gets sore. Some people it gets so sore it opens up and it becomes like a wound. I don't know if that's happened to anyone here, but there are silicone pads that you can put on the bridge of your nose to protect your nose. And for a lot of people, not everyone, but for a good number of them, or a good majority, these gecko or boomerang pads, the two different colors, are a lifesaver for people who have thin skin on the bridge of their nose and have trouble there. So have people heard of those pads before?
I just ordered them today.
Oh, good. Okay.
I've tried to get pads, and it didn't really help me at all. And I have two different types of the full face mask, and it's the one that has that sort of like a bridge that goes to the top of the nose, and that's where the pain is. And I avoid using that. But at any rate, I always generally I keep the mask on too tight because I wake up in the morning with indents in my skull, etc.
Right. It's mask fit and mask tightness. It's probably 80% of the phone calls we get.
Mm-hmm.
It's a constant struggle between man and mask. So we understand. So let's get to best tip number 5. We're halfway through. I'm going to sort of accelerate this a little bit. And this one is called cheat as much as you can. Okay? So we don't want you not to use CPAP, but there are some ways you can cheat a little bit to make it more comfortable. So this is really most prominent when you first start CPAP and you're getting used to the air pressure. And one of the ways you can cheat is to use the ramp feature on the machine. Does everyone know about the ramp feature and what it does?
You mean turning it down, or?
Right, you hit that little button and you get like a get out of jail free card for 20 minutes, where it lowers the pressure, it lets you fall asleep, then it slowly builds up so it doesn't wake you up. So it's a nice way of going to sleep with low pressure.
Yep.
Everyone knows about that.
Yeah, the trouble I have, though, is that as the pressure builds up, then it starts leaking and wakes me up. So I gave up on that. I start full force.
You start full force and just
from the
out. Yep. Again, this is one of those therapies that everyone's a little different, and you got to figure out your own solution some of the times. The other way to cheat is using C-Flex. Does everyone know what C-Flex is?
No.
So C-Flex is probably already programmed into your machines. It's a little feature that it's usually at a 0, 1, 2, or 3. I'm going to rely on Jody and Liz to keep me out of trouble here, but it slightly drops the pressure when you exhale. So it's just a way of sort of relieving some of the pressure at the end of when you're breathing. It just makes it a little more comfortable. And they actually call this like the ramp. It's a comfort feature. Now, Jody and Liz, is this a feature that the patient can change on the machine themselves?
Yes, that's correct. A lot of patients will say they don't notice a difference when they're awake. It's seamless. Really, the difference is perceived more. It's counterintuitive. It's a setting that helps actually when you're asleep. So it kind of lessens the work of exhaling and lessens the work of inhaling. But it helps more when you're asleep, so you stay asleep. When people are awake and their airways are open, they tell me that they don't notice a difference, but they'll change it, use it that night, and they'll be able to report back whether it seemed like it was a more restful sleep. Liz, have you found the same thing?
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, I have mine on mute, so it takes me a second to push that button. Yes, I agree. And I think of it as, you're kind of working against, if you were to blow up a balloon and you're starting that, it kind of alleviates a little of that pressure there that you work against.
That's a good description.
Okay, thanks for that, you guys. The other part of the tip is if you're having a hard time getting used to the CPAP, especially the mask and breathing against that pressure, this is sort of for the newbies that might be on the phone. Some people recommend just wear it during the day if you're watching TV or take a nap, or if you're reading, just get used to it and let your body get used to the mask on your face. Let your diaphragm and your body get used to breathing against that pressure. And sometimes do it even before you use it at night. Just get acclimated to it when you're awake, and that'll get your body used to these different feelings. Let's go on to best tip number 4, which is always sleep uphill. And it doesn't happen so much anymore with the advent of heated tubing, but many people still get rain out, which is getting water collecting in your hose at night. Does anyone still get that?
Never.
No. I don't know.
Good.
I've had a lot of calls this week about that.
I get it all the time.
Maybe.
I see it particularly when you're having a change of seasons, when you're adding humidity or decreasing it.
Right. It can happen in the northern states in the winter when it's cold. It can be colder in your room. It can happen in the southern states in the summer when you're air conditioning. What happens is if your room is cool, the actual surface of the hose gets cool, and the water vapor in the air that you're breathing through the hose condenses on the hose.
Yeah.
And it sort of can pool in the hose.
Well, that's a huge problem for me. I've had to deal with that for years.
Yeah, there are some solutions to it. The newer machines that have heated tubing, it actually has a heated wire that runs through the tube, and just like the electronic defrost on your side view mirrors or your back window of your car, it heats up the tube, and if the tube is warm enough, the vapor in the air you breathe will not condense on the hose. If you don't have heated tubing, you can buy a hose cover, which is like a fleecy long sock that goes over the hose that insulates it and keeps it warm. It serves the same purpose as the heated wire. Or you put the hose under the bed covers and keep it warm.
I do that. That's my secret.
Yep.
It's wonderful. And I love I'm in Maine, and my room is cold. and I put it under the covers, and I like to hold that in my hand, and I just go off to sleep.
That's how you get a lovely night's sleep.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, we heard.
She has all kinds of tricks and things, so those are great. The last one is sleep uphill. Make sure your CPAP is slightly lower than your head, so any condensed water runs back into the humidifier, not into doesn't collect in the hose and the mask.
Yeah, that was the first thing that Bernie told me to do, and I've always done that. And I think I wanted to add this too, that we should always have a positive mental attitude, especially when we're going to do this, we can do it, and just go to sleep and make it a good thing for ourselves. It works.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah, of course.
If you have a heated tubing, do you have to worry about that condensation? Do you have to worry about the machine being lower than your head?
Not so much.
Okay.
In theory, if you have heated tubing and it's solving the condensation problem, you don't need to put it lower than your head.
Okay, right. Thank you very much. Sorry to interrupt.
You're welcome. No problem.
So we're supposed to ask. I said we're supposed to ask. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Okay.
We're here to learn.
That's right. We're here to learn. So let's move on to best tip number 3, which is don't run a biology experiment.
What do you have in mind not to do?
So what we don't want to do is live in a petri dish.
Oh.
Yeah. If there's one thing that we've learned that you can do to make your CPAP work better, it's to keep it clean.
Absolutely.
And replace certain parts on a schedule. And I'll just say this, contrary to popular belief, we're not telling people to replace things on a schedule to have you buy more stuff. We're only suggesting it because we see thousands and thousands of users of CPAP, and we've cured many of their issues by making sure that they actually replace the cushions or replace the filters or the headgear on some reasonable schedule. There are some things, like the humidifier chamber, where your insurance company will pay for a new one every 6 months.
I didn't know
frankly, we don't recommend it. We don't think it's necessary because they're clear. Every morning you should dump out the water, give it a quick rinse out, wipe it out, let it dry before you use it again. And you can see if anything's growing, and we think you can probably do a pretty good job keeping that clean. The hose, you can't see inside. The filters help keep your machine running well, and they help keep particulate out of your airway. And the most important thing is the cushions. The cushions are made from silicone. They have a special finish that helps them stay tacky so they can seal. And despite everyone's best efforts to clean their cushions regularly, they're going to trap little oils. They're going to trap bacteria. It's hard to clean them. You can't really disinfect them. You can't use an antibacterial soap. That's not good for the cushions. We've seen people who have had trouble with their masks and therapy, and as soon as we get them on a regular program where they change those things out, they're happy campers. So there's actually a recommended schedule. It's on our National Sleep Therapy website. I think maybe we'll post it on Facebook. Does everyone generally know what the replacement schedule is?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
I think mine said once a month. I've already gotten 2. I've only had the thing a month, and I've already gotten 2 masks, 2 cushions in the mail.
Yep.
Yeah, last night I couldn't go to sleep. I couldn't get the cushion sealed. I got up and I changed it and put the new one on, and I slept the rest of the night.
Oh,
yep.
Wow.
So it's really important.
Good.
It is important, and we'll post this, but let me just give it to you quickly so you have a sense. If you have a full face mask, those cushions should be changed once a month. You should still, I always tell people just to wipe them and rinse them down every day. If you have nasal cushions or nasal pillows, you replace those little things every 2 weeks. If you have for your hose, I'd like to do it sooner, but your insurance only pays for it once every 3 months. The filters in the machine, if you have a Respironics machine, there's a black foam filter, and you put over it a little white filter. That black foam filter You can wash that out in the sink every week and dry it and put it back in, and that will last you for 6 months. But those white filters that trap all the really fine particulate, those get replaced every 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah, that I know.
Okay. The headgear insurance only pays for 6 months. I wish they did it sooner because those headgear can stretch out. If you start feeling yourself having to go tighter, then either your cushions are giving out or your headgear is giving out. So just keep that in mind. Don't underestimate the importance of changing those out. And when you use a soap, use a mild soap. I think Jody says, you can use a dilute vinegar and water solution. That works well.
Oh, that might be better.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I wanted to suggest that I've had trouble cleaning the little, it's a nice little box, but I wish there was a very soft brush. I've been trying to invent one for myself. I take some of my old oil brushes for painting and put a little cotton in to get in the corners. Maybe our water is harder here in Maine, but I do use the filtered water. But did they ever make a brush to clean out all those little chambers?
I don't know. I've actually seen people use a soft toothbrush. Can work.
Well, I tried that too, but it won't go down in the ones I wanted. They're too tiny.
Yeah, wow.
I'll figure out something.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that. Yeah, just so you know, before the end of the call, I'm going to randomly pick a caller on the phone for a gift card. So just hang on for these tips. We only have a few minutes left, so I'm going to rush through them a little bit. Best tip number 2 is don't leave home without it.
Right.
And what we mean is if you need to travel and use your CPAP, there are options. You can bring it with it on the plane. Most TSA knows what a CPAP is. It'll work in different countries. All you need is a different plug adapter. It'll has different voltages it can work with. There's a little teeny tiny machine that's available. We sell them. You can get them in lots of different places. But by Transcend, it fits in the palm of your hand. It's so small.
Really?
Yep. So if you travel a lot, there are some options. If you camp, there are battery connectors. So if you're going to be away or you need to travel or you want a small machine, give us a call, and there are some things that you can do. That little tiny Transcend device is a very popular device.
Never heard of it, never seen it.
Yeah.
They ought to have it in the Sky magazine for people that travel.
We actually.
How much does it cost?
Yeah, we sell a lot of them through the Sky Mall magazine. You might see in
it is. I read that thing from cover to cover going to Texas last trip.
Yep, it's in there, and I think the price is about $450.
Okay, I have a question also about travel.
Yeah.
If I'm going to a foreign country, which I am, and I need to have the water to put in the chamber, I'm concerned about how I would find it. You know what I mean? Where the language.
I boil it.
Yeah,
because you can't really bring it. You can't bring it in your carry-on, and you're limited to so many pounds for your checked luggage. And I'm worried that if I'm going to Italy, and I'm wondering if how I would go about finding the water. Would they carry them would it be at a pharmacy? Where would I look? What should I do?
Yeah, there's probably a pharmacia or something that carries distilled water or bottled water. I'm sure, unless you're in a very remote part of Italy, I bet in most places they'll have similar waters. Worst case, in a pinch, buy the drinkable water. Here it's Poland Springs and Fiji water and all these fancy waters. But the important thing is try to avoid the hotel water because it can be highly chlorinated and there can be a lot of particulate in it.
Right.
And that can irritate your airway. So I would try to avoid that. But go with distilled or worst case bottled water and you should be fine.
Chianti doesn't work.
I'm sure you can buy distilled water in any country.
Yeah, I just have to figure out what the word is for distilled water. I'll have to Google that.
That's true.
That'll give you something to do on the plane.
That's true. Besides sleep. Thank you.
You're welcome. So let's go to best tip number 1, and I actually lied. We have a little tip after that. But this tip is change your machine more often than you change your car. So, I don't know if you know, but Americans replace their cars on average of every 4 years.
Huh?
And we only use our cars on average 1 hour per day. And we use our CPAP machines hopefully 4 to 8 times that, 4 to 8 hours every day, and we replace them every 5 years.
That's very good.
So if you have an older machine, older than 5 years, you know, the newer CPAP machines, they're getting better, they're getting quieter, and if you've had your machine more than 5 years, you should replace it. Your insurance company will buy a new one, use your old one as a spare. If you've changed your insurance in the last year or two, from Blue Cross to something else, or something to Blue Cross, or Medicare to something, chances are that they will pay for a device as well. So the newer machines are better. You're probably it has more features where you can see your data. It gives you more visibility. You can monitor what you're doing. They have modems that some of them stay on forever, so your doctor can see your data, you can see your data. It's kind of like getting a new car.
Will Medicare cover that?
Sorry?
Will Medicare cover that?
After 5 years, Medicare will.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good point.
So that was tip number 1. Again, I lied. There was a quick bonus tip, and here it is, which is don't be a know-it-all. What we mean by that is CPAP changes all the time. What we know about it changes all the time. We're getting great tips from people like you guys who have called in. We don't know it all. There's always something new that we learn, and we want to share, and we want to share that with you. So don't feel like there's a finite world of information. If you're having a problem, don't think that you're alone. Don't think that there aren't any solutions, because there's always a solution, and that you should reach out to this group, reach out to us, whatever you need to do. Don't sort of sit in silence. Definitely reach out. Okay, so that's it for our 10 tips. I will tell you the person who won the gift certificate tonight is the person whose phone number ends in 0360.
That's me. Thank you very much.
So what you need to do is send us an email at info@cpaptalklive.com.
Got it.
And just give me your whole phone number, and I'll have your email address, and we'll send you out the gift card. I want to thank everyone for joining. We're pretty much on time. Everyone's background was quiet. Everyone had great feedback. I really appreciate it. I hope you got a lot out of it.